The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Hello, here I am. It's Nikki Glaser Podcast. Welcome to the show. It's Nikki Glaser. My voice is scratchy. I've been talking a lot. This is a busy week, but I got some sleep last night. Thank you, melatonin. Shout out to 20 milligrams of melatonin, getting me through, calming me down at night, easing the thoughts in my head. I really recommend it. People always say, melatonin doesn't work for me. I fall asleep and then I get up later, or it makes me have weird dreams. First of all, who doesn't want weird dreams? And second of all, stop telling yourself that story. I don't mean to Dr. Phil it, but like if you keep telling yourself the story of the time 8 years ago where you took melatonin and it woke you up and then you couldn't get back to sleep, if you tell yourself that's what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. Because I know that when I have to wake up for something in the morning and I set my alarm for 7:09, I literally so often will wake up at 7:08. Your body will like do what you tell it to do before you go to bed. Brian, do you relate?
I can relate. Well, I can partially relate. I know that I tried magnesium before bed, which is something that a lot of people also try to relax your muscles, and that thing made me fucking crazy.
Yeah, that didn't do shit for me.
Yeah. It's like an electrolyte, and I think if your electrolytes are balanced, then taking an electrolyte supplement just throws your electrolyte balance off. Like I felt jittery, and I was like, why do I feel so jittery after taking magnesium? And then I looked up online, the internet, and it said that a side effect of having electrolyte imbalance is feeling jittery.
That's so great when your like symptoms are confirmed.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it feels so good. Like I ran someone through a psychopath test the other day. I'm not going to say who, but they passed with flying colors, and I was with other people that I was like reading it to, and it was like lack of remorse, doesn't share, it was like, let me just say
it Josh Brolin?
Yeah. I didn't get to meet him. I did Kimmel yesterday, and he just like was interviewed before me, and then we passed in the hallway, and he was just like, good luck out there. And I was like, thank you. Yeah, he said the same thing Tom Brady said to me. Good luck.
What's that all about?
Good luck isn't like when Tom said it to me, it felt like, I said, thank you so much, Tom. I just ran, into him in the hallway. And I said it on the podcast before, it just felt like a take care.
Like that's the end of this relationship.
Have a nice life.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's like, I will never see you again. I hope you well in everything you do until the day your heart stops beating. But like, we will never cross paths again. And that's okay. I don't think there was a part of me in my mind that was like, Tom Brady's going to like love what I do so much that it's going to like, I'm going to get pulled into his world, and he's going to want to do, I don't even want to do TikToks with him. Like, I don't even like, there was no goal in hand, but I think right as the roast started, when I saw his like first reaction to Jeff's set, I was like, this isn't a guy who's going to be like, whoa, you were so good at like tearing me down that I want to pull you in.
Yeah.
To me and kiss your neck. No, I was not.
You had a better shot with Edelman.
Yeah, I'm doing Edelman's podcast. He reached his.
Oh, great! There you go.
His people reached out to me and were like, "Oh no!" My publicist reached out and was like, "There is a podcast hosted by Julian Edelman. He's a football player." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And they're like, they're interested in having you on. I go, okay, yeah. Do we know the connection to this? No, I think they just had to send it that way because that's the way they send things. But I was I'm aware. So I'm so excited to do that squinty-eyed fuckboys podcast. I think that's what they're renaming it to.
Oh, really?
Oh my God, Spade yesterday. We were like, I did David Spade and Dana Carvey's podcast, Fly on the Wall, which is so fun. I love them both so much, and they're just so sweet. I love them. And Spade was texting me afterwards, kind of going over what we were just talking about, and he's like, yeah, the roast jokes, like they really stay with you. Like he was like, I bet you anything. He was like, someone called Julian Edelman squinty eyed, and I bet you anything. He's like, wait, am I? Like he had it like no one else was saying that. Whereas when we were working on jokes for this, Brian, you and I and others, we thought squinty-eyed would be like, there's so many, I thought it would be a fabric of the roast. Like I thought it would be one of many people calling him squinty-eyed, saying like one of the jokes was, why do your eyes look like that? Are you trying to understand why Andrew Schultz is funny? Like there was stuff like that. Are you trying to find out why I'm here tonight? Like whatever it was. Like I think there was a Gilbert Gottfried joke of like,
something about
one
an
year that Greg
eclipse.
Giraldo said, "Are you why are your eyes like that? Are you trying to see Jeff Ross's dick or something?" Like, like squinting to look at something. So
Yeah.
it was like in that vein. So when I called him a squinty-eyed fuckboy, I thought it would be like in the air, but it was there were so many jokes like that. Do you relate to that? That we wrote so many jokes that were like I thought would be treading on things that were so tread on already, and then there are a lot that we didn't tell that I'm like, oh my god, that could have been said and wasn't. Like I have so many more jokes about things that like, and I think we did the perfect thing. We are all in agreement, me and my team, that we did a great job.
Every decision we made was the correct decision. It's almost remarkable that we didn't make an incorrect decision.
I've been saying it like I ran that set so much, and there was never once time that I did it that it was as perfect as the time that I did. Like it's like one of those Olympic stories where it's like she never landed the triple sow cow, and she did it once in practice, but she stumbled a little bit, but she's going for it tonight, and it's like, why would she go for it if she's never landed it? And the fact of the matter is, you can't really land these sets. I can't land the triple sow cow at the Laugh Factory on 11 o'clock at night when Drew Bledsoe is not there to, there's no precedent for who that is. So my jokes about him will not ever work.
Yeah, like what was great about the Kia Forum is not only were they there, but the audience knew who you were talking about. Where we would do shows at like the store or the belly room or the store, and it's like, oh, you guys don't know even who Gronk is. Like, what the fuck? And so it's hard to tell, like, are these jokes going to work? Are they not going to work? You kind of have to just, like, take a cumulative effect of all of the sets to see, like, what's, like, the percentage of how many times it's hit and not hit.
Yeah, it was so rewarding, but I just was so surprised at so many areas that I had written to or we had written to that were, like, I just thought would be, oh, this is going to be so well tread that we shouldn't even say this because it's just like we're going to be like even the Bridget Moynihan joke that I did, which I think was the only one that referenced him leaving his pregnant girlfriend for Giselle. I may be wrong, but I think I was the only one, and I thought that was going to be like
one of the top 10
overdone. I thought they would have mentioned her name by like the time I went up there, but did I talk about how Kevin Hart did the same joke as me yet?
Well, you talked about it on Stern, I think.
I know, but I didn't talk about it here, so not everyone has Stern.
When he said that, I was like, "What the fuck are we?" I turned to Chris and I was like, "What are we gonna do?"
What are we gonna? There's nothing anyone can do. Literally nothing. So, I wrote a joke that I masturbated so hard to Tom Brady. He was on my fantasy team. My clit has CTE now. So Kevin Hart, 3 people before me goes up and he does a joke that Tom is fucking so much after his divorce that his dick has CTE, and when he said it, I wish that if you can find footage, you can just see. I would love to see what my face did in that moment because I just don't. I didn't know what to do.
You got CTE basically.
I really, I had Gronk face. I just started just so confused, looking around, like considering all the options because I cannot talk to a producer because the show is live. There's no one to call up to help me. There's no one to talk to. Jeff comes back after his set. Because it's Kevin opened, then Jeff comes out. Jeff, after his set, sits down. I go, Kevin did a joke I have in the prompter. I'm saying it like this. Like, Kevin did a joke I have. And he goes, which one? And I go, my clit has CTE. He said his dick has CTE. And he goes, just do it. And I go, but then I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. Like, I did the math already that it was enough time in between me and, or Kevin and me, him telling that joke and me was enough time for the audience to forget the specifics of the joke. It was never going to kill as hard because they subconsciously know that they've heard it before, but they don't consciously know it. But it was enough to build that's only the subconscious would really understand that they'd heard it before. It was enough time that maybe like probably a tenth of the room was like, wait, that joke has been done. I would say 9/10 of the room would be like, I guess it's not that funny. That's kind of funny. It's not as funny as it would have crushed so hard. I mean, that was one of my best lines, and it went from a 10 to a 5.5 because it had been said before in a different way. But then I had the tag of,
That's the reason why it was saved, because it had three parts to the joke.
What if I didn't have that tag that was, my clit has CTE now and the NFL is making me, I would show you, but the NFL is making me cover it up. If I didn't have that tag, I would because it used to not have that tag and it was working well enough. Just like my clit has CTE now. Like it was a big enough line that it would have stood on its own. I couldn't have skipped it in the prompter. There was no like I couldn't have at any point gone, prompter guy, like, can we go through? And I couldn't remember what was after that joke exactly because we had changed the order so much. So Kim Congdon, who worked with us as well, and a brilliant comedic writer, roaster. She's on Kill Tony all the time. She fucking destroys. But she was in the front row, thank God. And I just looked at her face, and she is as shell-shocked as I am. She knows exactly what's going through my head. And I go, what do I do? I don't even have to say, like, did you hear? I just go, what do I do? And she goes, and she's looking at the ground, and her foot's shaking. Like, I can see she's in this beautiful dress, but she's just like, we're both writing. Like, I'm trying to figure out another line that I can say. You were on my fantasy team last night. Like, what else? And she just looks up, and she goes, just do it.
She said that, or she eyed it.
She just mouthed it. Just do it. I could see her mouth. She was so close. She was 20 feet away. Thank God.
Kim's a badass. I really, I never met her before. Yeah, I think I love her.
I think I do too.
She said she's moving to Austin. I'm very sad. But
she's awesome. Yeah. Kim Congdon, COGD. Wait, CONGDEN. CONGDEN.
I think it's
Kim.
D-O-N.
D-O-N. Sorry, D-O-N.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was saying it like a bear den. But she is so funny, and she has a podcast with why am I not? I'm so sorry. I'm so
Sarah Weinshank.
Yes, duh. Because
is that Sarah? Sarah.
Right? I love Sarah so much too. Yeah. I'm so sorry I blanked on your name. That is not because I don't like you and know you so much. I really can't remember my own middle name today. Yeah, they have a podcast. It's so funny. I watch any clips that they have up. There's only so many podcasts that I like. Anytime a clip comes up, I watch it, and theirs is one of them. They're so cool. But she was amazing, and Hormoz was amazing. Rashidi. We had so many good people. Bob Castrone, Sean O'Connor. Shout out to my team, Dan St. Germain, Mike Lawrence, Ari Findling. These are all the people that if I was to win an award, Brian Frangie, over and over again. Chris Convey, Andrew Collin, Andrew Collin. It was so fun. We last week, Monday through Saturday, we met every single day as like a group with at least 3 or 4 of us and would hang out for 2 hours and just talk about if it's funnier to say retard or retarded. If we should call him a date rapist or say he looks like a date rapist. Like these were the really intellectual discussions we were getting out about, like, is it funnier to say Gronk puts the tard in retarded, or is it funnier to say Gronk puts the tard in retard? Yeah. And I think I went with retarded.
That was the correct answer, yes. Another correct answer.
Yeah, I mean, we just had to. You just don't know. But these are the discussions comedians get into really seriously, and like these really. We're not at all aware of how ridiculous it is until someone walks in and goes, "Is this really what I'm walking into? Is this like?" Yeah. Heated discussion about the word retard or retarded, but that's what comedy is. It's very. I was learning, like, in the aftermath of this. I really always hate when people talk about comedy as like it's an art. Like, I mean, I know that it is, but I'm always like, get off your high horse. But it felt like putting this performance together felt like an Olympic ice skating routine or a gymnastics beam routine.
Yeah, I mean, well, because it was live, especially, it felt like a sporting event. It felt like, and also roasts are inherently competitive. Even if you're not battling, everyone in the audience is comparing your sets, which is
everyone's
totally
ranking everyone.
It's unlike a showcase show, even, where you just have maybe people talk about who is your favorite, but in a roast, it's like who's number 1, 2, and 3, who was the worst, and that's what the internet did. And Nikki was overwhelmingly number 1.
Yes, it's been nice. My life has changed. I haven't been out enough to really sense it, but it's just like, even being at the Comedy Store last night, Netflix's Joke Festival is happening in town, and there's so many comedians in town, and it's just like, it's been so sweet. Everyone is just so, I've never done something where when someone sees me, they just start going, and they like, come on, bring it in for a hug. And they just start and they go, amazing, amazing. Like, we don't even know, they don't even have to say what it is. It's literally every single person. And they're even going, I don't have to tell you. You've heard it a million times. I've gotten more text messages than I've ever had anything in my life. I mean, this is unprecedented. I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I think I'm the luckiest person in the world this week because everyone is in agreement that I did great. No, there's no criticism. There, which is usually whenever there's like, even Taylor Swift released her album, she's on top of the world, but there's like so many critics. Like no one's weighing in negatively on this yet. There is just, it's only
And here's
praise.
this
And
now. Look at that.
is it 2?
1.2.
Oh,
It's going.
I just got to 1.2.
Yeah. After
200,000
Yeah,
new
there you go.
followers in 2 days.
It'll happen. Two Mandelas is coming.
Holy shit. Two
And we've just
Mandelas
begun
is
to
coming.
scratch the surface of the whatever is going to come out of this. I mean, who knows? You might get an HBO special after this.
Who knows? I might be having an HBO special come out this Saturday.
They
which
might
is
move
like,
on it that fast. That's how successful it
yeah.
was.
Well, dude, everyone, even Kimmel last night was like, "Did you plan this?" And I'm like, "No, it is coincidental."
Yeah.
Like I remember HBO not being that thrilled that I was going to be doing the roast this week when they found out, and vice versa. Netflix is like, "Really? You have an HBO special?" Like both were kind of like,
Yeah.
I said on a podcast, it was like this week was like I'm fucking 2 different guys, and it's fine because it's like all legal that I'm doing it. Like we're not exclusive with each
Yeah.
other, but they went to the same party, and now I
Right.
have to like dance with both of them
Well, it's
and show them
somehow
both
each-
affection.
It's somehow each one of their dicks has made them like, I can't think of a good analogy. Like they're coming
them-
more because
Yeah.
you fucked them both.
Yes.
Somehow.
HBO's gonna come more, and
Yeah.
Netflix. I think HBO's coming more off of Netflix.
HBO's coming more. HBO's
Yeah.
your husband, and Netflix was the fuckboy that you plowed on the week
That made me
before.
feel like a woman again, and like made me really feel like confident and hot leading into
You
it, and
came
like
back to your husband and you fucked him
oh,
up in
so
the sack.
hard,
Yeah,
so hard, yeah.
That's what's
So
happening.
all eyes are gonna be on the HBO special
Hell yeah.
this Saturday. I hope yours are on it as well, you guys. Someday
Maybe
You'll
Julian
Die, and then
Edelman's.
my title track "Someday You'll Die" will be on Spotify. I think tomorrow, maybe
Wow.
today, because
Oh,
this
cool.
episode comes out Thursday. So check on Spotify, iTunes. "Someday You'll Die," my first single ever,
Yeah.
which is so exciting and fun. And you guys, I talked to you about the process of writing it, so you're all squared in on that. But it really is. I feel like I'm living a dream. I
is a
am
dream.
Taylor Swift for a couple days. My face is literally everywhere. People are. This sounds like I'm bragging, but it's just the truth. I'm not. I promise I'm not. I really am not letting it get to my head at all. In fact, and I feel really proud of myself for not being like. I'm just. I like it. It's gonna go away at some point. I know that, so I'm not letting in too much. But you couldn't open your phone without my face popping up. I felt like Taylor Swift. Like that's what Taylor Swift's life is like. She's not safe anywhere without someone with an earshot talking about her. Like I'm passing by people in the street, they're talking about the roast. I'm getting so many texts about. I was at the hairdresser today. They were talking about it. I heard a guy on his phone talking about it. They were talking about it on the radio show. My therapist, I had a session with yesterday, and she was like, I don't usually say this, but I couldn't avoid it. I was in the car with my husband. He was listening to the Dan Patrick show or whatever, some kind of,
Yeah.
Pardon the Eruption, not Pardon the Eruption, one of those shows. And she was like, and they were talking, they said your name, and he has no idea.
right.
I even am your therapist, and I had to just like keep my mouth shut. I'm like, no, tell him. Be like, that's my girl.
I wonder what
deal
your
with that
old
crazy all the
therapist would do
time.
today.
Huh?
What your old therapist would do. I wonder what she would do.
Oh, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It's not. No, Nikki, it's just, it'll
What a
come and go.
loser.
It's like, she's no different than anyone else. She's not better than anyone else. She's not, you're not worse than anyone else. You're the same as the homeless man on the street. Like she would just like diminish
Yeah.
it as like, it'll go away. Like she would be like the person, my inner critic that
you
is
do
always.
not need that. You do not need to amplify that voice. You have enough of that in your own head.
I really do. Absolutely. Maybe she put it there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, it's just, I'm just going to the store last night. There is a vibe, I will say, of people that were never nice to me being nice to me now, or people that kind of like would nod at me, and now
that's
they're
my
like,
favorite.
"Girl,"
but you can't say who
rubbing
they
my
are.
arm gently. Do I
No,
what?
you can't say who they are. You can't say who they are.
No, I wouldn't say who they are, but
Yeah,
but it's not a ton of that. Like I will say, it's just what I'm really touched by more than anything is the female empowerment that I'm feeling. Like I feel like women are not jealous. Like there is a vibe when you kill it, and women are just they're like good job. Like there's like this like like, yeah, girl, you said what we want to fucking like
Yeah.
there was like a women empowerment thing to it that I didn't plan on. And that has felt really special, that women are just like psyched for me. Like there's not a jealousy about it, but I don't know that if I could, I think I would be very jealous of me this week if I was
Well, if it was
not
a
me.
roast, of course, because I mean, if it's something else, maybe. But if it was a roast, and like
Yeah, that's true.
You're.
I don't know. I just feel I feel so special and like and you know what? A lot of people have just acknowledged the hard work that went into it, which is really what I am proud of as well. Like I just I made the right decisions. I had the right delivery. I did the right timing. I've hired the right people to help me. Like it was just I'm taking credit for that. I am.
And
saying,
I also
like,
want you to
okay.
take credit for your performance, because
Okay.
the same person, a different person with the same exact jokes would not have crushed as hard as you did. You delivered those
Thank you.
jokes professionally, expertly. It wasn't just, even if like Tony Hinchcliffe, who had an amazing set, if he had the same jokes as you, it wouldn't have gotten the same pop, because you added this like emotional response to each of your jokes. Like you would smile, like when Kevin stood up and gave you a standing ovation after you said he got 5 pounds of cum in him. You paused and you said, "Oh, thank you for laughing at that," and you smiled and laughed at him. And there were a few times where you would have these, like, after you would tell your joke, you would have just a line of like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I said that," or "It's true."
I really
and these
felt
are just,
that. Thank you.
These
I
are
felt
just
that
Nikki
way.
Glaserisms, and that's why you were so successful, is because of that delivery.
Thanks.
It really connected with the audience on like more than just, you were a true star performing this piece, and it connected with us on an emotional level. Whereas Tony's stuff was, I think, just as good writing wise, but he's like got a deadpan delivery, and so you don't connect on an emotional level.
Totally. So it's just a different style. But yeah, I ran into him last night. He's also, we're both like, we both said to each other, like, we are the only two people that understand what we're going through right now, because he's having a big pop too this week. Like his name is on the fucking map after what he did. And so
he was already on the map, but now even more. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even like he was on a map in a way, and now it's a bigger rap. Bigger map. I just saw the word rap. And speaking of rap, let's wrap this up and go to commercial, and we'll be back right after this with just more of everything. All right, we're back. I woke up this morning to Andrew Collins sent me a clip from New Heights, the Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce podcast.
Yeah.
And they said, Travis Kelce said, Nikki Glaser's fucking hilarious. If I ever do a roast, Nikki's gotta be there.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't have, if I would have written a script for him to read, it couldn't have been better. Like, there was like some mention about him doing the roast. Like, we were just kind of all riffing. Some people involved with the roast were riffing, like, oh my God, if he would be next, that would be amazing. And I go, please, God, I have to do that one. And everyone's just like, yeah, of course. Like, I'm like, really? You will let me? I would be so sad to not, but.
No, there cannot be a roast without Nikki Glaser in it.
I hope
you are
so.
The GOAT.
It's so fun. It was so fun.
It's got to have Jeff.
This time it did not
Nikki.
kill me.
No. You said you're having a good time.
Yeah, I had the best time preparing for it. There was maybe like maybe a 20-minute altogether chunk of me feeling like, oh my God, is this going to be okay? But I didn't really like have a breakdown like I've had in the past, where I was really like, I just remember being spray tanned and dripping like sweat and spray tan naked, being like, I need to go to this event, but I'm not ready for the roast. Like, I remember just like having meltdowns all the time leading up to the roast, feeling it wasn't going to be good enough. It's not tight enough. And this time I was just like, it's gonna work. It's gonna be okay. And it was. Mm-hmm. And really just not letting, there was a thing that happened. What had happened? Oh, okay. So I did this weird OCD superstitious thing that I'm so glad didn't happen, but I was trying to remember the lyrics to this new Taylor Swift song, Guilty as Sin. And I said, if you can't remember this one lyric that's just like it's like on the tip of your tongue, if you can't remember it before you're going to play the song, and if you can't remember the lyric before she gets to the lyric, then you will not do great at the Tom Brady Roast.
Wow.
It just entered my head, and once it enters my head, I lock into that agreement with God. Like, I can't go, no, that's a dumb one, and you can't live up to that, and you're like, it just was that was written in stone. And so I'm in the shower, it's playing, and it was like, and I got to top lip kiss, slipping them. Like I kept thinking like the sloppy, the top lip kiss. I couldn't think of the dun 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 dun. I couldn't remember it, but it's like how I long for our trysts, and I couldn't figure it out. So I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh no, it's done. I had to learn the lyric from Taylor. That means that is set in stone. I'm not going to do as well as I want to do in this roast. And then I just said to myself, this is so dumb, and this is not true. It's just not true. That was like a dumb little thing that I did. That was only me. That has no power in the world. Like I was able to overcome this like OCD set in stone. Now because you didn't do the thing that you said you were going to do, things are going to fall apart, and you failed yourself, and that I so often follow. And it worked out fine, and it wasn't true. So if you are someone that has OCD that thinks if I don't touch this doorknob, if I don't knock on this thing, if I like, it's very possible that has nothing to do with how your life's going to go at all, because I proved it to myself, because this was one of those 100%, if you don't come up with this lyric in time, things aren't going to go well, and they couldn't have gone better. Yep. So I'm proof positive that OCD it's not real.
Yes.
And not that helps anyone, but like, just try to get through the pain of thinking maybe this is set in stone, but also maybe that it's just so make believe and not a real thing. I think people can relate to that, of like making these little, I think it's OCD challenges for yourself.
It's it's an aspect of it probably, but
I think I've been doing it since I was a kid, of like, if you can't get to the porch, run to the porch from the mailbox in 3 seconds.
Yep.
Then your mom will die.
Yeah.
Kind of things. And then I just start walking.
Yeah. You don't even go home.
Yeah, I turn around and go the other way.
I just wanted to show people, for the YouTube viewers who can see, that I have the cookies from the roast.
Right.
From the after party. And I thought it'd be good to show them. We were talking about the cookies yesterday.
Yeah, there's one with his head on it too. Yeah, that's cool.
They had to make these by hand. This was not a machine that did this. Can you imagine how many having to do that? Hundreds.
Yeah. Do you think one person did it, or someone was like, "I got I'm the white frosting, I'm the red frosting," and you pass it down? Oh yeah, that one's pretty intricate.
This is my favorite one. The goat with the 12 on it.
It's a goat. I thought it was a jersey because mine were all crumbled, and I don't pay attention to detail.
Yeah, and then this one's just a little odd. The Tom
Brady
his
face.
No eyes, no nose. What the hell?
Yeah, I think they
ran out.
The eye frosting person took off that day. Called in sick. But yeah, that was a little, like, the fact that they didn't have eyes. I bet they tried with eyes and they were like, it's too creepy. Or they were like, it looks more human than he does, and so we can't have it.
Yeah,
he's unreal looking, dude.
Like yeah.
But yeah, it's
I did want to say about the Julian Edelman the joke. We had a funny discussion about we wanted to point out his squinty eyes, and at first it kind of went in waves. Where at first we were like, he doesn't even have squinty eyes, and then we look at pictures of him, and he'd have squinty eyes like when he was outside, and we're like, maybe he's just squinting because he's in the sun. But whenever he's inside, but no, at the roast, his eyes are I saw him in person. His eyes are squinty.
He's a beautiful man.
He's a beautiful man. And so
Randy Moss is a beautiful man. There were so many beautiful men.
Yes.
I thought Zac Efron was supposed to be there and dropped out at the last second. And I love Zac Efron, and it's been like a funny joke between me and Chris that I have this like crush on Zac Efron. And, so when I found out he was going to be on the roast, I held up the sign. Chris was at my rehearsal, and I held up this. I saw it on the chair, and I go, Chris, look who's gonna be here, and we were laughing about it. But then he dropped out. I'm like, and Chris was like, oh, is someone not gonna meet? And I was like, damn it. And then we're backstage, and I saw Danny Amendola.
Yeah, Danny Amendola.
I didn't know, I don't know who that is. I know that name very well. And I remember being like, oh, he's a hot guy. Like I remember clocking that. But I thought he was Zac Efron. I go, Zac Efron is here. And I said to Chris, I was like, he's right over there. And Chris is like, I don't see him. I'm like, he's the guy over there. He's kind of I was like, he's like your height, babe. But he looked like him. And then Chris, Chris and Danny Amendola dated the same person. And then afterward, after the show, they both had a moment where they talked about it. And I think Danny Amendola told Chris that they were Eskimo brothers.
Oh yeah, that's
and I was like, do you want to be Eskimo brothers again?
Hey, he's great.
Do you want to be Eskimo twins? Add another brother? Yeah, is he great?
He's the same position as Julian Edelman. It's just a funny coincidence. There's not a lot of wide receivers that are successful in the NFL, and Tom Brady has thrown to 3 of the most successful white wide receivers in NFL history, probably, at least in the modern era.
That's a good area for us to go to for this roast. I'm like, oh, I didn't really understand that. That was touched on a lot, that there's no, like, that Randy Moss was the only black guy there on the dais. Or, like, the black football player.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I'm just doing I had already booked so many podcasts and press things this week because of the special, but now they're, like, piling up even more because of the roast, and, like, things are coming in. Again, it's good for the special, but I'm talking it's so funny. They're like, let's talk about the roast. Okay, now let's get to your special when we have 1 second left, which is fine because it will all be okay.
It'll all feed into each other.
It does.
I do want to point out 2 things that you were mentioned on that were really made me happy. One of them was the Pat McAfee show. They talked about you. We saw Pat McAfee when we were at the Super Bowl Radio Row, and I tried to get a picture with him in the background. They across the board all agreed that you were the best one. And Pat McAfee, punter of the Colts, he's probably the most famous sports broadcaster right now. And they all agreed.
He was a punter?
He was a punter. The coolest position, I think, nowadays. To be a punter.
Cool. I didn't know he played. This is how out of it.
Punter for the Colts, Pat McAfee.
I just know him as a broadcaster. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just cool to hear them talk about you. It was just like, oh my, it would be like if, Peyton and Eli on the Monday Night Football broadcast mentioned you. It's like so cool for me to hear. And then I really loved that clip that you shared on the Rich Eisen show with Todd Bowles, the coach of the Bucs. Now, why this was so cool was because Todd Bowles, who's the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, hadn't yet watched the roast.
Hadn't seen it. It was just like, I'm a Nikki Glaser fan.
Unbelievable. And Rich Eisen had the pleasure of saying, well, you're in for a treat because she stole the show.
I feel like my life is a simulation because everything that could happen is happening. Everything good that someone could say. Kevin Hart coming up afterwards and telling everyone I got a standing ovation. Like, people just like Travis Kelce saying exactly the words that I would want him to say that are it's not too effusive or over the top. It's just like a perfect, like, just mention. That Rich Eisen thing of like, well, you're in for a treat because she had the, like, these just things keep happening where I've just never done anything where it's just everyone is just saying the nicest things over and over. It's just wild. And I'm so sad it will never, I'm like having this thing of like, this won't ever happen again. It can't. This isn't a repeatable thing it just isn't.
Even if you do the next roast and you crush just as hard, people will just be like, yep, that's Nikki.
Of course. That's what she
She's
does.
the best.
It will not be the same ever again. I've said it already, unless I get slapped at the Oscars. Is the only way a comedian will ever get talked about on this scale. Ever. I'm not joking you. Slide in my DMs and tell me another way, and don't be jokey about it, unless I die tragically, in which case I'll never be around to read it, or unless I get assaulted at the Oscars on stage, a la Chris Rock.
Yeah.
That's the only other time a comedian has talked about this much. Even Chris Rock's live special wasn't talked about this much the next day.
No.
SNL, if I host SNL and have the most amazing monologue that's ever been had on SNL, it will not get can you think of a most amazing monologue that's been talked about the next day? I mean, there have been monologues that are incredible that aren't being discussed on this level. There isn't this much attention on comedy.
You'd have
literally
to probably
ever.
kill a few people. You probably have to murder a few people.
Bob Saget was talked about this much the day he died. Like, if you die tragically young, you will get talked about. Your face will be everywhere in this way. Or if you get something horrible happens to you.
The good news is someday you'll die. So.
Oh my God, it all comes back around.
And I'm doing a boom thing with my hand if you're not watching.
That's so true.
So I do want to talk about you're on Kimmel, and I watched that and you're on Stern.
Yeah.
And I thought it was... I love that your tradition is to go on Stern after a roast and then reveal the jokes that you did not tell.
Yeah, I wish I would have told more. My document was so jumbled that I didn't put the best ones at top, and so I was kind of I thought I would have time to scroll, but I just didn't. So I'm to be honest with you, I'm very upset with myself and not really letting myself off the hook for like all the jokes that I didn't tell him that I should have.
Well, it was still good. It was still good to see you on there, and And what I appreciated about the Stern stuff was online, with all the clips that were posted, the comments. His audience is probably like 50-year-old men, right?
Yeah, and women. Yeah.
And women. The comments were all like, so happy to see, Nikki Glaser is a Stern product or whatever. They take ownership over you, and they all love.
They should.
Yes, and they all love that Nikki is just watching you crush. Just another.
That's so
fan
cute.
base. Yes.
God, and because Stern is my favorite thing that I do, up there with Conan. Kimmel is up there now too because he's just iconic and so nice and awesome. But there are certain things you do in your career that you're like, I always want to do that. And Stern, I think, is like, always been my favorite person. I moved to New York to do my serious show in New York so I could be in the same building as Stern. I didn't have to do it there. I was supposed to do it in LA, and I was like, guys, can I move to New York? Would I still be able to do it there? And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
But it was really all to just get close to Stern and to get in that world. And I was able to get in that world, not by like being manipulative or like doing I just was like, I became friends with people from his show. And you guys know me, I never want someone to have me who doesn't actually want me. So like, I wasn't like, you need to have me on. Can I be on? They just like, it naturally led to that over the course of a really long time. And I still like will do anything for them. Like, yes, they've had me on for these kind of serious interviews twice, but I also judge penis competitions. I will like simulate a blowjob with one of their whack packers. They call me up sometimes and they're like, can you just do this voiceover where you're like giving fellatio to Mark the Bagger? And I'm like, sure. I'm doing Conan's podcast in a second, but let me just step off into this alley and be like, oh, Mark. Like, I will give them anything. Like, I'm a whore for Howard Stern, much like I would write a Sibian. I would do anything. So that was really nice that's nice. I don't read any comments, so that's nice to hear that they were saying that.
Yeah. And then on Kimmel, I really like that you got to say the artificial intelligence joke, which we cut mere seconds before you went out there.
Yes.
It was like that was the last one out.
And our decision to cut that was that Tom Brady wasn't being set up as like an idiot. You know, like we weren't proving that thesis. Like a lot of these jokes, like I think a lot of people who don't get it, and I've worked with some like, writers who are just who just write amazing jokes, but they don't understand the structure of a set, will be like, well, this is the best joke. And I go, well, that is the best joke, but you don't understand. We haven't set up that he is dumb. And so it isn't the best joke. We need, in order for a joke about his, him being like AI, but without the intelligence, for that to work, we need to give some kind of, and I know you think that you don't need that, but it would work so much better if you just lay the foundation. There is an art to it, like of setting the stage subconsciously so people are ready for that joke to hit in a different way. And you can't just like shoot just because the joke is just great. Nikki, just do a joke about, like, I think some people approach roast set where they're just like, let me just stack the best jokes. Just grab all the best jokes and just stack them. That does not work. That will not. Even if you have jokes that are all better than mine, let's say all of my jokes are 9s and you get a bunch of 10s in there, and you just stack them on top of each other, and by each individually, they are better than each other, than all of my jokes, literally better. Anyone would rate them better. It will not be a better set than one that I've used with less good jokes that I have structured in order for those jokes to actually sing it will never be as good. It's and you wouldn't think that way, and I didn't think that way. If you look back at earlier roast sets of mine, there was the glimmer of me trying to pull a narrative into it and find a perspective, but I was more about stacking jokes earlier on, and now it's like, what do I want to say? How do I actually feel about this person? How do I get the audience to understand how I feel about this person? Okay, yeah, I want to say that Tom was on my fantasy team and my clit has CTE now, and that I would shoot my boyfriend in the fucking face to, have him. I need to set up, though, that he's so hot that it's doesn't make sense. How do we communicate that? Well, there's not really a joke to do that. Why don't you just say he's hot? Why don't you just literally have a real moment of, you're so hot, I shouldn't even be talking to you? Like, that really will convey that it doesn't take a lot of time. It's okay that it's not a punchline. That will set the stage for all this boom, 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 boom. Without that, it's out of the fucking blue that you want to fuck him. And yes, it's still funny, but it doesn't have precedent. Like, it needs foreplay. And I think people don't understand that sometimes foreplay for a joke is it's subconscious stuff. Like I talked about it before with the CTE joke. Like, subconsciously you lay a foundation and then you build upon that, and that's why stuff can be so much funnier than you would think it ever would be. There is a art to it, and I just know though, I don't know if I'm so sorry if I'm repeating myself on this. I know that I am because I've done so many different podcasts and you guys know that I love you the most. But that I was thinking about how, did I talk about it took it took 2 weeks of extreme hard laser focus work to perfect this. And then let's add on a month before that of still just collecting jokes. A little bit more than
a month of just,
Yeah. But that's how long it took to get 6 minutes, right?
Yep.
So if I want to do an hour special that has this much precision, I have to work 10, that's times 6 times 10.
Yep.
I have to work 10, I have to work probably a year and a month, 13 months.
Yeah, I would add some just because.
A year and a half of like every chunk being that, and I don't know if I'd have that in me because I am so tired at the end of this. Like it really is. You can't compare the 6-minute set to a special, like, because it's just it would almost be, I'm going to attempt it at some point to do a special that is that tight, but also it's not the nature of a special. Special is more conversational. It has more ebbs and flows. There's more time for it to breathe. That you're weaving a narrative that is like longer. But I've been perfecting this style. I realized from the get-go, like my first Tonight Show out of the gate was like, I've always been good at late night sets. I've always been good at putting together tiny, tight sets. I've always been good at doing panel, and panel's a little differently. Panel is when you sit on a couch on a talk show. Like with Jimmy Kimmel, like I had so many jokes prepared, but then the conversation can steer away. It's not like I have control over, I'm going to do this joke and then this joke and this joke. This conversation goes different places. So, obviously I was spiraling out last night being like, oh my God, I didn't do this or this. I had so many plans. Like I printed up a bunch of jokes that were written about me that I paid people to write for me. Cause I thought it'd be funny to go like, okay, I went hard on Tom and everyone, but it didn't really, I didn't get the brunt of many jokes. So actually, why don't we take a break right now? And then when we come back, I'll read to you, Brian, some of the jokes that were written about me, and we'll talk about how they make me feel inside. Oh, it looks like I just got asked to do some panel. I just said that I was good at panel, and another panel opportunity came up. I don't want to say who it is, but it's on the East Coast, and that'll be very fun. Wow. Okay, so these are some of the jokes that came in. Oh, I know who
it is. I just guessed.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I think so.
I wrote to the head writer, Mike Gibbons, yesterday. I was doing Kimmel, and I was like, oh, that's a funny idea. Is just instead of reading roast jokes that I didn't do, I'll read jokes that weren't done about me. Mm-hmm. And I kind of regret asking for them because it was just it was a little, some of them hurt my feelings. And I really am not going to read the ones that are really, really mean because I don't even want people to think these things about me, because some of them were like, oh, I see this in myself. Okay. So this is like jokes that Kevin Hart could have done. Hey, Nikki, I'm not going to mess with you, girl, because you've worked hard and you deserve to be here. Plus, how many she's a beaky blonde who rode a parade of dicks to get to the middle jokes are there? I like beaky blonde. That must have been fun for whoever wrote that. Yeah. Shout out to the Roast Writers Room. There were so many great comics on it. I can't even begin to list you all. Benji Aflalo, Nicole Buchanan, Ben Hoffman. Sorry, mm-hmm. He used to have a show on Comedy Central. He's so funny. Mike Lawrence, Kevin Sheeny, mm-hmm. Sarah Tiana, and there's so many more. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting all of you. I really apologize if you hear this and you're like, why didn't she say me? I'm fucking sorry.
And these are the writers for the roast. So they were writing the stuff for all the football players. They were making sure, and
for the comedians as well. Like they gave me they were definitely handing me jokes when I would ask for them. I'd be like, oh, let's look at this angle. And then they would send a sheet of stuff. So they were, so every roast hires a team of writers for the show. So they're writing Kevin's MCs. They're writing everyone's stuff. So if you go, you can literally show up empty handed and they will have great jokes for you. Mm-hmm. But that's not how the comedians approach it. The comedians all also write their own jokes and have their own kind of groups of people. If you're doing it right, in my opinion. Yeah. Kevin is still sore from riding Nikki here tonight. That's like me looking like a horse.
Okay, I get it.
Nikki, I'm not saying you look like a horse, but clearly you are broken. I like that because you break in horses. I kind of didn't get that for a second. Nikki is Jewish. That's just the joke. No. They did think I was Jewish though, which is always a compliment. I am not though.
Yeah.
Nikki's Jewish, which means Palestinians can hate her as much as Hollywood does.
Now,
I
Hollywood
couldn't
loves
decide
Nikki
whether
Glaser.
Hollywood likes me and everyone's mad about it because Tony Hinchcliffe had a joke where like
Shoving you
Nikki,
down the throat.
yeah, Nikki is Hollywood shoving Nikki down our throats like she does her hand after every meal, and so I couldn't.
Yeah, something like that.
I was flattered by that. I was like, oh, Tony thinks that like I'm in a lot of stuff. That's nice.
One of my favorite Tony Hinchcliffe joke, which there were many, was Jeff Ross is such a big Jew that he watches football just for the coin toss.
Incredible.
I love that one.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had so many great ones.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of one of my. Wait, what was one he said that I fucking loved so much? I don't have it listed here, but some more were Nikki, thank you for taking time off making the baristas at Starbucks miserable to be here tonight. A Karen joke.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Sure.
Guilty. And I
You're a
actually
little
am very
bit
nice to baristas.
of an enigma here these days because, back when you were in your 20s or whatever, whenever you did your first roast, it was like easy to say slut, whore, whatever. And now you're like a little bit more nebulous than that. Like it's kind of like a lot of the stuff that was said was not correct. And the stuff that wasn't correct, that doesn't ring true, doesn't get as big of a laugh. And so it's like, what do you make fun of Nikki for?
You look like Brittany Mahomewrecker. I thought maybe
Okay.
Brittany Mahomely would be better. Showtime is paying Nikki to do a special on HBO.
That's pretty funny.
As a tribute to Taylor Swift, here is a blonde to take attention away from football. That was good. I really liked that one. Ever being compared to Taylor Swift, I'll take it.
Sure.
Nobody could have sex as much as Nikki claims, especially not with her. Oh man, that makes me sad. Nikki looks like a trophy wife in the XFL.
Pretty good.
Let's see. Nikki looks like Nicole Brown Simpson. Thank you very much. With an unlimited Sephora budget. Okay.
All right.
I think that means like I'm not as pretty as her, so I've stepped it up with makeup, which listen, I agree with you. Sam J and Nikki Glaser are here. It's so nice to see two totally different eating disorders come together. I like that. I got a lot of eating disorder jokes, which was really I was flattered by. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. But then I talk about how I questioned whether or not it was like, does it mean that I fluctuate too much and people have noticed like I go up and down? So I even took it as a fat joke, even though I think it was because they were saying I was so skinny.
But also
I was
you
like, but
talked
maybe
about
it's
your
a
eating
fat joke of
disorder.
saying I'm too fat sometimes. What?
You've talked about having an eating disorder,
All the time.
20 years ago.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
The problem is like, I know that people are going to start making fun of me for like, we get it, you had an eating disorder. But when people ask me how I got into stand-up, I can't not, it's like, it would be like saying, it's just part of the story. It's I don't even want to talk about it, but it is the only reason I did stand-up. It is part of my origin story. So I don't know how to stop. I'm just trying to say it more flippantly, like, oh, I was dying of anorexia. So I did, like, I'm not trying to be like, this is my story. I think I'm so cool because I have this tragic story. It just is the story. So it's I know that I'm going to get roasted for
That's a great
in
origin
certain
story.
circles for like, we get it, Nikki.
That should you should be a Marvel superhero.
You're right.
Like
Thank
Batman
you.
had syphilis and therefore
Nikki, I didn't like all those jokes about you being a slut. I heard enough of them in your first 4 specials. That is so good.
That's a good one.
Don't get excited. I didn't actually watch your specials, but I got the gist from the comment section. Oof, that one hurt because I know what the comment section is on literally until this roast. I have any clip with my face in it is going to have the meanest comments, and you will see how people feel about me. Please never read it, besties, if you like me. I doubt Nikki would have lasted long with me as her coach. Oh, this is for Belichick. She'd be smiling on the outside, but just like every time a man doesn't like her, she would cut herself.
Wow.
I'm glad he didn't do that. I don't think that would have gone well, but it's not wrong. And whoever wrote that joke definitely like did their research on me because
also, it was
definitely feel that way when boys don't like me.
It was a good thing because Bill Belichick shouldn't have said a joke about really any comedian. He should have just focused on the football players. That's why he was there.
Final thought. Bill Belichick, the joke was made by Gronk that Bill Belichick should be dating someone his age, Nikki Glaser.
That's pretty good.
It's so fucked up, man. I was like, that really got me because, first of all, I'm 40. Bill Belichick is, how old is he? Like 70?
69 or something.
Yeah. but the truth is, like, that is probably the age range. Like, if he was dating me, people wouldn't mind. I think the girl that he was hooking up with was much younger than me.
Yeah.
And so
He's
I am
72.
age appropriate for him. Yeah, 72 and nearly 40, 3 weeks away from being 40, is a normal age gap in Hollywood for a man to woman. It is
Sure.
fucking insane.
Yep.
I really remember turning 35. I wanted to work on a bit about it. Turning 35, and suddenly I went to go see a matchmaker that like had written to me. This was when I was living in New York. It was 2018, 19. A matchmaker wrote to me and said that we have like a celebrity client, or like not a celebrity client, like one of our millionaire, billionaire clients that like wants to meet you. And I was like, this would be good to story for the radio. I was doing the radio show every day. And I'm not like opposed to a matchmaker situation. Okay, let's go. So we go. I just talked to the girl. He's not there. She's just like telling me about him, won't show me a picture. And I'm like, okay, this guy seems nice enough. Probably not going to be anything, but I'll go on the date. And at the very end, I was like, how old is he? And she was like, 57. And I was 34 at the time. And I go, no.
Yeah.
And she goes, what? And I go, no. Like, that's too old. And she was shocked. Like, it was as if I was saying 36 was too old. Like, that's how she was reacting. I'm like, what? And I go, I'm 34, maybe 35. And she goes, well, how old was your ex-boyfriend? And I go, I think he's 39. And she goes, young. And I'm like, he's still older than me, bitch. And you're acting like I'm robbing the cradle.
She's like.
But it's like when you reach a certain age as a woman, there are people. My joke was that people, when you're 34, people are like, you should meet my, brother's roommate. He's great. And you go, okay, great. And he's like of your age. And then you turn 35 and people are like, I have someone for you. And you go, awesome. And they're like, it's my great uncle Lucas. And you're like, why is this? And they're like, but you're 35, so you should lower your standards. And suddenly this is okay for you to date very old men. And I will say that I would be open to it if I was a single girl. Like, I don't really care about an age gap we were making a joke about how Bill Belichick isn't old enough for me, because if I'm going to go old, I want them closer to death so I can have like a second life after them with all of their money. I want it to be like, I want to be hospice side at our wedding. Like, I want our wedding to happen in a hospital room. I want, when they say you can now kiss the bride, I want them to have to take out his ventilator. Like, that's how old I want him to be if I really go old.
If you go that old, though, then you're going to have to deal with his original children who are going to contest your claim. That's the
I don't
problem.
need his money. I really would not be in it for the money. I would be in it for like
just to see
what would I
someone
be
die
in it for?
person.
Like, just to say I had married this really old guy. It'd just be funny, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
for one
I think I would do
segment on a
things for the
radio show.
jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see a couple more jokes. The most impressive stat here tonight is Nikki's monostat. It's working very hard. Let's see. People call Nikki ugly, but this fucking hurt, dude. Are you ready for this one? This hurt.
Oh,
and this
no.
is such a good joke. Thank you so much to the writers who gave me these jokes, or like to read these jokes about myself that make me want to cut myself, even though that was part of the joke. But this joke fucking hurt and is so funny, but it wouldn't work. And we'll talk about why it wouldn't work on a dais. People call Nikki ugly, but she has some really great features. Unfortunately, she can't follow them on stage. So features meaning my feature act, which is the middle act, which is the person I bring on before me. So that joke wouldn't work on this kind of platform. It would work in like a roast battle at a comedy club because everyone talks in that language. But no one knows what, like, outside of the comedy world, if you know what a feature act is, you are a savvy person. If you're not a comedian, you're very comedy savvy. And
There
then
was another
also
great joke.
follow her. Like, people don't know that either, really.
Right. There was another great joke we had with a similar reasoning why we cut it, even though it felt so great. Which was for Bert and Tom.
Okay. It was Bert and Tom, the only comedy duo without a straight man.
Yeah. Great joke.
But
we worried.
It was in my act. It was in the, like, ready to send in the script because it was a last minute edition. I forget who wrote it. Someone wrote, I think it was Douglas Fager, I think, wrote it. I'm sorry if I got, maybe Nathan Orton. But the last minute line, and I was like, that's perfect, because we were looking for just something that brought Tom in a little bit, addressed them both. I ended up going with like Bert and Tom, you guys are presenting together later, like two peas in each other's mouths. But I did think the straight man one was a better joke, but couldn't be used because my makeup artist, right before, I'm like with my laptop in hand backstage at the Kia Forum, And I said to my makeup artist, I go, do you know that there's a thing called a straight man in a comedy duo? And she goes, no, I'm sorry, I don't know that. And I go, well, then it's like, you're a person that I want to appeal to that is like, you're not dumb. I know you're paying attention. If you don't know that, it's not looking good for other people. And she goes, I'm really sorry, I don't know it. I go, don't be sorry. That's not like, I'm not like, how do you not know that? It's like, that was just me testing how many people kind of know that idea. And I think most people that listen to this podcast would probably know that thing. But if you don't know it, you're the reason I didn't tell it, and you need to fucking do your research, okay? Like, there's a straight man, and then there is what's the other person? And I'm kidding when I say
Crazy
this, but
person.
There's not a name for it,
Crazy
like the
man.
straight man, though.
Well, no, crazy. It really is.
It's crazy?
Yeah. Well, at least in improv and sketch it is.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, so there's a
Yeah.
crazy person, there's a straight person, but the straight person is always the one that's confused by the crazy person. You know, like, who's on first, that classic bit.
Yeah.
Like, the guy that's saying, well, who's on first? And the other person's like, no, who? I'm saying who is on first. That's
You
the
know
that
it's a
sounds like
straight
it might be
man?
the straight person, but that's the straight man.
You know it's a straight man because the last thing they always say is something in the realm of, I can't believe this guy.
Yeah,
It just
Jerry Seinfeld. Seinfeld's the straight man for
Yeah,
most
Seinfeld's
of
always-
sometimes he is the crazy person when when there's a straighter man than he is, but
right.
he's mostly the straight person that's like observing the chaos around
That's
him.
his whole stand-up persona, is to be the straight man in life and observe
Yeah.
things.
Is Larry
whereas-
David the straight man on Curb?
No.
I think
Well,
sometimes he is when he's dealing with Leon
Sometimes, but he's
or Susie
no,
Essman.
He's a crazy person. It's like that's a show.
Oh
that
yeah, you're
has-
right. They're all the straight people. You're right.
There's so many crazy people on that show at times, but Larry David is almost always the crazy person.
And in Tom and Bert, Tom is the straight man.
Tom seems like
Yeah, 'cause Bert's the one taking off
Bert's
his
so
shirt.
wild. Yeah.
My joke I really
Larry
liked
David,
about the. Oh, sorry.
Occasionally, Larry David interacts with someone who's so brutally mean for no reason that Larry becomes the straight man. But that happens only every once in a while. And the joke there is almost like, can you believe someone's acting even crazier than
Right.
Larry David?
And I want to just the joke I really liked about Tom and Bert is that if you know Tom and Bert, which it was like you have to really explain their dynamic for this to work, but I feel like when I watch Tom and Bert, sometimes Tom seems so exhausted by Bert, and almost like,
Yeah.
what's he pulling me into? Because that's their dynamic. He's the straight man, and Bert's the crazy one, and he's like, Bert, what are you doing? What are you saying? Where are we going? Like, why is Bert taking off his shirt and running up on stage? I guess I have to go. And I said that sometimes Tom looks like the conjoined twins that just got married, the one that didn't get married who's just hanging off and as they're like slow dancing. And that's like Tom in most of their scenarios of like, why am I here right now? This is so uncomfortable. And I thought that was like a funny visual, but again, like there's so many factors you have to consider when writing these things that like, should we even address Bert and Tom? They haven't been up yet. Like, if
Yeah.
you notice, the first joke about Sam J did not work because she had not been introduced.
Yep.
Like, I forget what the first line someone said about her. I didn't say anything about her. I had jokes about her, but I decided to cut them because I knew that I would have to set up who she was so much at that
Yep.
point that the first time someone referenced her, no one really understood it. Even for me, like before I got brought to stage and had my moment, the jokes about me were not doing well because people were like, who is that? Like, we don't know
Yeah.
what to feel about her. And
You were still on 2016 Comedy Central. That's the token whore, you know?
Yes.
And that's not the case anymore.
But it was funny that I got up there and I said I'd shoot my boyfriend in the fucking face to have a lottery ticket to suck Tom Brady's dick. So I kind of was the token whore. I mean, I don't mind that, but I do.
You want to talk about like nitpicking your set? You know how after your set you watched it and you're like, that's a mistake, that's a mistake, that's a
Yeah.
mistake. That was the one moment where I felt like this little tiny change would have made it 5% funnier.
No. Don't do this. What are you doing?
It was
What
great.
did I do?
It was
What
just,
could I have done?
It's just so small that it probably would, but it's just like this. You can't help but think. It was, I would pay this amount of money to suck this guy's dick.
Yeah.
I think it would have been slightly funnier to say this man's dick.
I'm so glad I disagree with you because that would be
Great,
devastating if I agreed with you. Like, I couldn't handle the regret. This guy, I think calling him a guy is so.
You know, we might
like,
have actually
he's just
discussed
some
this
guy.
before anyway.
No, I don't think we did, but I don't think you're wrong. And that is truly like, and you don't even, listeners might go like, who cares about that? It's like, what's the difference between those? a 5% on that joke would have like I would have done anything to get 5% harder on that joke. You know, like I would have literally done anything I could to get even two. Like I would have, you know, when I was the next day when I was freaking out about my makeup, Chris was like, would you have sacrificed your beauty that night to make your set funnier? And I was like, 100%. He was like, then that's what happened here. Okay. So like, if you would have been focused on having your eye look as perfect as you wanted it to, your eye makeup, your jokes would have suffered. So just consider that like they didn't look as good because it was going into the comedy and like it was no other way it could be.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad I disagree with you. And don't you
Great.
ever do that to me again. Don't you ever do that to me
though,
again.
Can I just say though that joke particularly, high bar for delivery. The delivery on that joke was perfect.
I practiced it so much. And we only wrote that joke the day before. Yeah. Right? Like Jimmy Carr was the one that wrote that joke and convinced me that I should say it. He said it at the Netflix brunch and I was like, I can't say that. I just was laughing at it as like, that would be the funniest thing to say. But like, it's horrifying. First of all, it's throwing Chris under the bus in a way that I'm just not comfortable with, even though it's totally a joke. But Chris was just like, do it. And I was like, really? Yep. And then it was like starting to be like, okay, if I did do it, what would it look like? And I wrote I was like, I think we have a new closer. So it didn't end up being the closer, but I saw Jimmy Carr last night and gave him like the deepest hug of my life because of that lot. Like there were so many people that just like came in last minute with amazing ideas and it just I loved the collab of it. Like I really want to do something that I can just hire all of my friends and we just work on something and then I go out and I do my little routine and everyone feels like they were a part of it. Like it feels really good to perform and have everyone feel like, oh, she did that joke that I wrote, or like because I know what it feels like when someone tells your joke or something. Like I didn't. There's usually so much pride on my part of like I have to write all of the jokes, but I liked nailing jokes that other people wrote in ways that like made them feel so good, because I also know what it's like to write a joke and have someone deliver it and they fucking blow this joke so hard. That could have been great.
Well, you have to have faith in we have faith in Nikki to deliver the joke, and like it felt like at points I felt just as good as if I was up there doing this.
And that's what I felt from the team.
I felt much better than if I was up there, because I knew if I was up there, I wouldn't have done as well.
Because I can't relate to that, because I want to be me. The only person I want to be in this process is me. And I have been other people before coming up, but like I'm so glad that people really did feel as if they were like me. Like people were our team, those people I listed before, were so happy for me. We were all on a group chat. Like it was the best feeling in the world. Like the pride that I felt from you guys in my performance. That was like, I'm not trying to be like humble of like, it was about making you guys happy, but it feels, what's the point of doing any of this if you aren't like for me, it gave me a solution to like when my parents die, I feel very scared about like what will keep me going, what's going to give me motivation to impress people. And now I just have the answer. It's like you assemble a team that are all very invested in this. They're not just like writing on a show for a paycheck. They are like, they are mostly here because they just want, they feel like it is them too. And that is what it felt like that night. And I'm like, okay, now I have something in place for when my parents do pass away, and that will still motivate me to really perform and do a good job for that like satisfaction. So that was a good feeling. So now my parents can die, and someday you'll die out on this Saturday. Watch it when it comes out. If you could watch it live, that would be the best. But definitely stream it within the first 24 hours would be amazing for ratings and for me. And I appreciate your support, besties, so much. I'll never forget you. I'll never get too big for you. I love you so much. You're my OGs. You're my number ones. And you know that. So let's just all have a great weekend. Don't be kid. And we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.